Hello, everyone, and welcome to our third lecture in the section on the list. Today, we are going to talk about the various methods that are available for working with the lists. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to share my screen here, and let's put up our slides. So we talked about how there are a number of things that are overloaded for working with lists. We talked about mutability of lists and the aliasing of lists. Now we're going to talk about some of the Python built-ins that are available for you to work with your lists. So the first one is the append. Now these are going to work and have a syntax very close to the ones that we had for the strings. So it's going to make use of that dot notation. So we're going to have the syntax just like that. It's going to be the name of the list dot and then the name of the method and then whatever things need to be passed into it. So it's going to be like this, list dot append and then some item that you want to append to it. This is very useful and you're going to use this all the time. I think this is probably the most widely used list method that we have. So if you have a list that has the entries A, B, and C in it as strings and you forgot D, you can do mylist.append and then you put in the entry that you wish to insert at the end of your list and it will append it. So append, like an appendix, means at the end. So it will always add on the right-hand side. And so you'll get A, B, C, and D will append over on the right-hand side, just like so. You can also do extend. Now extend the list by appending a list of items to the end. So just like append, it also adds items onto the list on the right-hand side. But the thing about extend is you can add multiple items. Now, because you can add multiple items, then that means that the thing that we pass into extend needs to, in fact, be a list and not just a single item. So you will see that this will take the square brackets. So you'll have list.extend and then the list of items you want. So let's say that you have a list of A, B, C and you forgot D, E, and F. All right, so we can then use mylist.extend. And now we have the round parentheses because these are the parentheses just like we'd have for any function. Methods are very similar in that regard, and they also have the round brackets. Don't forget, we use them even when there's nothing to pass. So we'll always have the round ones on the method. And now the thing that we're putting in is the list. So now we've got the square brackets, and then we have the items inside of the list that we wish to add on. So we will then concatenate these into the list on the right-hand side in the order in which they appear in the list that is provided to Python. So you'll get A, B, C, D, E, F all together. We can also do insert. So this inserts an item into a list at a position specified by an index. So this one is going to have two inputs required. You will have list.insert, and you need to have the insert index to select the position, and then you need to have the item to put there. So this allows you to, it's like appending, but it means you can append at any position inside the list. So it gives you a bit more flexibility. You also can only add a single item at a time using inserts. You cannot insert a whole list of items. Well, I mean, if you insert a list of items, you can do it, but the whole list will show up there as a single element. So usually you want to do just a single item. So for example, here's my list, A, B, D. Oh dear, I forgot C. So what can I do? I can use my list.insert to edit the list. Again, recall that this is possible because we have mutability. You could not do this with strings, which are not mutable. So we'll go to my list and we'll select position 2, 0, 1, 2. Okay, my cursor is here. And now I'm going to insert the item that's specified, C. So it displaces to the left. And so D will move over to the right and C will drop into the list. Let's take a look at another one. My list.insert 0 at the 0th position. This it looks like the greater than symbol, but it's actually a symbol that's used by biologists to indicate like this is the next line, which is why I chose that character. So here we have my list, and we're going to select the 0th position and then drop in this symbol to the left. So we get this list right down here. Here we have my list.insert length of my list ... Z. Now, Remember that the length of the list is going to be actually one position beyond. So you'll see this is how you reach in between the last item and the bracket. You can append this on the end. So let's say we wanted to put ... z. You would put it like so, and now you can put this on the end. This, of course, is very close to the extend or append. So you could also consider using those syntaxes as well. But this is the trivial case that is equal to those situations. We also have the method pop. Now, this is very helpful if you want to do something where you have a game and you want to select something. You could think of like cards and you want to pick the card and play it. How do you do that? You can use pop to remove an item from a list by index. The popped value is returned by the function. Very helpful. The list must not be empty because you cannot pick something out of an empty list. If no index is specified, the index is assumed to be -1. Remember that that's the negative indexing, so it's the rightmost item that you will pull out. So you can do list.pop and then supply some index or assume that it will be the last item in the list. So let's take a look how this would be. So here's a list, A, B, C, D, E, and F, and we're going to do popped equals my list of pop of the 1th item, 0, 1, that selects the B. And now we say, Python, what did you just pick? And it tells us it picked B. So notice that we have to, in fact, actually have a variable equal to whatever list.pop returns. So we're doing a variable equals and then that call right here in order to catch the value as it comes out of the list. So we get B. Now we can also do my list to view what's left in the list, and we see that the B has been removed from the list. So it really is like drawing a card out of a deck, drawing an item out of your list and returning that, which you can catch in a variable. There are more pop examples which we can see here. So if we have the list and we have ABC, right? We're going to explode this out into a list and we can do my list.pop. There's no index being specified here, so it's going to assume that we want to take the -1th item, which is a C. Now we ask Python what's left in the list and it tells us A and B. Now we're going to do my list.pop. The reason why it's showing the value that it popped is, of course, because we're working interactively, and in the interactive interpreter, there is that print built into the prompt. So my list.pop will tell us that we have now selected B, and we ask Python what's in my list, and we see that A is left because we have pulled off the B. Then we do my list.pop and we remove A, and we ask Python what's in the list, and we see that we have the empty list. What will happen if you try to pop something out of an empty list? Well, cannot pop from an empty list. We get the index error pop from empty list, which tells us that we cannot pop something when the list is empty. We also have the remove. You can use remove to remove an item from a list by a value selection. It removes the first instance. If multiple instances exist, this is helpful to know, because if you intend to move all of them, you need to take care. So we'll do list.remove and then the list item. Here's some examples. My list has A, B, C, D, E, C. So notice that C appears in the list twice. So if we could do my list.remove A, we will remove the A character and we ask Python what's in the list, and we see that A has been removed. Unlike pop, you're not going to be able to capture it. So that might be a bit of a problem for you. So you need to consider what exactly you need to do with this item that you have removed. So just take care in the particular problem you want to do. Now we're going to do my list.remove C. So there are two C's. What will happen? It will remove the first instance from the left to the right. So we see that the C is gone from this position, right? That one's gone, but the other one is still here. So you need to repeat the mylist.remove C to remove another one. We also have the split lines method. A string can be split into a list of strings. We can split a multi-line string into a list of lines. Recall the /n is the new line character, so you can do string.split lines of string. So this one doesn't exactly work on lists, but it causes a list to be created, which is why we're going to talk about it right now. So the input is of type string. So here's some text, and you have multiple lines in here, and now we can do string dot split lines of that text, and we will get out the list is the result, and we see that it gives us the line 1 ABC, right? And then this causes the split to happen. So it uses the /n as the new line delimiter, and then it also doesn't report that back, so that gets extracted. We also have this split method. This can split a string by a specified delimiter, usually using string dot split. If no delimiter is specified, the white space will be used by default. These are very helpful for working with text, and you may also have this working on your game. So you can do a string dot split some string and delimiter. So here is an example. My string has all of these different cities in it, but notice that they're done as a string. So you can do string dot split my string. Nothing is specified here, so it's going to split on white space. That means anything where there's no character. So we have these spaces here, so it will split on those. And we see that we get out Miami, Tampa, and Clearwater. The interesting thing is it does retain the commas. It's not splitting on the comma, it's splitting on the white space. So the comma is left behind. My string equals Miami, Tampa, and Clearwater. Again, we'll reset that string, and now we can split the string on the basis of the comma. And if we do this, we see that now the commas have disappeared. Notice that in this case, the comma is both inside the quote and outside. Here, the comma is only between the elements, it's outside the quotes, but what we do retain is those spaces. So if you need to process it to remove both the comma and the space, you may need to do some additional string processing to do that. We also have join. The join can be used to join a list of strings into a single string. This is the opposite of splitting. So you can do stir.join, specify a delimiter to include between the joined items. Empty quotes can be used if no delimiter is desired. So you can do something like this, string.join, supply a delimiter, and provide a list. So here is a list of Miami, Tampa, and Clearwater, and we're going to do stir.join with nothing, and then we will put it in my list. So this is the empty string, and we get Miami, Tampa, Clearwater all smushed together because we've delimited with the empty string, that is no character. Here is my list again, and I can do string.join with the comma, and we see that they are now commas between them. There are no spaces. If you wanted the space, you could do comma and also include the space here for a delimiter that included a comma and a space. So you can see that you could do a lot with text processing with these tools. All right, so then that brings us to the conclusion of our discussion on the list. We have talked about recalling information on the strings, the slicing and the indexing, which is very similar to how it works on the list. We took a look at the definition, the usefulness, the syntax, homogeneity, and list of lists as some of our topics in the intro. We also saw a number of tasks which are overloaded for lists. That includes the indexing and slicing, addition and repetition, coercion, comparisons, len, and in. And these all work on the lists, very similar to how they work on the strings. We also saw looping over the lists, which again is really similar to how string processing works. We even did assignment, how to make a selection and assign it to something new, which is enabled because we have that mutability property. We then looked at mutation, where we can go in and we can change a piece of the list. And finally, we have taken a look at the methods for the lists, a collection of Python built-in methods that will help you work with your lists. Well, thank you so much for joining us. I hope that you have found this instructive, and I hope that you will find that the list may be useful as you're thinking about your final projects. They are a really terrific data structure that have a lot in common with when you worked with string processing. So I hope you will find this to be rather intuitive and also just give you a bit more flexibility in terms of the things that you can add onto your project. Thanks so much for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you in our other videos.